Okay, Nitro LC World here. I'm going to be talking about this Revo tank being replaced by this associated Truggy tank. Now this tank, as I showed you before, it has this plastic block back here to keep twisting back too much for my when I open up the lid. And that's got two screws in there. For this plastic block that goes on there. But we're going to be taking that off. We're not going to be using that. And this is the part number for this associated Truggy tank. Associated 81322 for this tank. The reason I'm taking off this Revo tank is there's some kind of blockage in this sintered fuel filter. Even though you clean it out with motor cleaner, brake cleaner, whatever, clean it out really good, and there's just some kind of fuel flow problem. I've replaced this seal, and it's still, there's just something that's just not right. I was going to get another tank, but I decided to go with this associated Truggy tank. So what I'm going to be talking about here is pretty detailed. It's pretty detailed the way I do this, so if you're not used to doing this detailed kind of work, this very specialized kind of work where you have to be very careful on what you do or you'll ruin it, then you might want to just put these body mounts in here that I made into tank mounts and just do that. Mount this on here if you want to use this associated Truggy tank, and leave the stock fuel hookup and just hook it up like that. Just use the stock tank. But what I've done is I've put this in here, this fuel hook up here, this fuel line hookup that goes in the tank here. I've got a rubber hose here that I cut, and I put a plastic washer in there carefully, made a hole in there with the X-Acto so I could mount this part, and this goes on there. And it goes around here, and I've mounted this here. This comes with the tank. I've mounted one of these fuel line holders. And then I make this fuel filter holder, mount that up, mount that on there, and then this here, this is a fine threaded bolt, and I cut it off so it's very short that goes in there. I made this washer, this rubber washer that seals this. You can get this material. You go to the O-ring section in the hardware store and you can find these rubber washers. I cut out a piece. You stamp a hole in there. Hammer a hole in there. Same with this. Hammer a hole in there. Hammer a hole in there. That's for your fuel filter mount. Your fuel filter mount. If you want to take this clunker out of there, this clunker goes in there. You probably should clean this, get this all free of oils, even if it's a new tank, and then tape this around here. Put some tape around here so you can protect this area right here. When you take that clunker out of there, you don't want to be scarring this up any at all. This is very delicate area right in here. You want to keep that smooth, factory smooth, so this seals. You don't want to be damaging that in there. Maybe you get some longer needle nose so you can pull that out of there. You can pull the clunker out of there. Then I plug this up, and before I put this short bolt in there, carefully file this flat as I can get it. Carefully file it flat, and then use some fine sandpaper. Fine sandpaper. Carefully file that flat as you can get it. Clean it all off. Cut this rubber washer all down. Tap that in there square as you can get it, so it seals. Once you've got that all sealed up, the next thing I do is I make this little holder for this rubber O-ring. This is out of laundry detergent soap, plastic bottle, whatever. Same kind of material you can find out of plastic. Ream a hole there, ream a hole there. So you can mount this on there, this rubber O-ring. This is a 440. I use a little lock nut on there. Same thing. Carefully make a hole in there in your tank. Now I cut this part of the tank down. I didn't want that wall on there, so I cut that down. And you got that all mounted on there. And I made this piece. This is a Proline body mount. Cut this off. Carefully drill in there. And like I say, this is fine detailed work, so you're going to have to be really careful. Right in that corner there. There's just barely enough room to make a couple of holes. But if you're careful, you can get those screws in there. You may be wondering why I made this so tall. Well, so I can get a hold of this. I can get a hold of this. I can get a hold of this rubber O-ring. And also I can put this screw in here. So when once it's all mounted on here, this holds it open. This piece holds it open. Then you just go like this, like that. And this never comes open. The truck gets flipped over. Fuel cap comes open. Fuel gets all over. Not only does it make a mess, but you're losing your fuel. You want your fuel to stay inside of your tank. So that's what this does. This will never come open with this rubber O-ring on here. So you file this down, sand this all down nice and smooth so you can get this on there easily without damaging the O-ring. And then I drill these for the 3mm bolts, go up through there. So that's how I make this associated truggy tank fit on here and work the way I want it to work. I never lose any fuel this way. The tank lid never comes open. This will never come open. It always stays sealed. It's easy to get on and off. So that's the way I set mine up. And also this part here, I neglected to mention, this part here where this fuel line connector seals here. Get some of this material here, cut it right down the center of this. See how this is got that woven material in there. You just cut down right down in the center. Once I got that cut down in the center, cut this down big enough, I got this, so this is half as thick. Then sand it down. Sand that all down where it was cut there. Get it all flat. Clean it all off. And you can punch a hole in there. Now you might be able to use some of this bicycle inner tube material and it'll work fine, but I chose to use this stuff. It's a little bit more, it's a little stiffer, more durable, where it will stay flat on there. But this might work too. I just think that this is a better material to use. And the same thing, but this is not in here. File this flat on the tank, as flat as you can get this. Use some fine sandpaper. File that as flat as you can get it. Carefully file that flat. Clean it all off. Tap this in there, straight as you can get it. Tap it in there, straight as you can get it. So this is flat. Right at the bottom there. And the other thing is, I put another plate in here. There's another plate in here. You may be wondering why I'm putting these plates in there. Well, when you put the plates in there, it moves your battery pack up. And then you can go forward. It gives you more room to go forward. See that gap there? Got just a little gap there. But that gives you room so you can go forward with this and you have enough room to mount your tank. There's a hole back here you have to drill just a little bit further back. See, there's the body mount, or there's the chassis mount, regular chassis mount. I made one a little bit further back so this tank will fit on there, and one hole up here so you can mount your tank on there, and it's just enough room so it fits on there. So that's how I do mine. Find your own way. That's how I set mine up. Alright, above all, enjoy the drive.